From the very beginning of this actor's career, there have been many rumors and speculations around him. Some considered him overrated, others not talented enough. But somehow, it was he who managed to gather an army of fans around himself, and even people who are not delighted with his acting style or appearance give him credit as a person. In the entire film industry, you rarely meet a figure who unites people of completely different beliefs. The secret is that behind the external modesty and almost shy smile lies an amazing ability for sincere actions, before which any criticism or ridicule is powerless. It is enough to know a few stories to understand why even haters take off their hats to him. One of the main reasons for the universal respect for Keanu was his life principles, based on real tragedies. The actor's biography is intertwined with so much pain: the early divorce of his parents, a difficult relationship with his father, the illness and death of loved ones, losses in his personal life that anyone else would have broken down long ago. But Reeves had a different reaction to all the blows of fate. He did not withdraw into himself, did not acquire the arrogance of a star, but on the contrary, became more open to the world. People who know him personally say that he is very sensitive to other people's grief, delves into other people's problems, as if trying to do everything possible so that others do not experience the emptiness that he himself had to face. Surprisingly, Keanu has never tried to talk loudly about himself or put his drama on display. He could easily turn his difficult biography into a PR tool, but he always preferred to avoid topics related to personal troubles. When asked why he talks so little about himself, he only evasively answered that he prefers to give viewers joy through films and keep his pain to himself. And suddenly it turned out that in Hollywood, where they often try to spin stars into scandals and tears, there is an actor who not only refuses such stories, but also never offends even the most intrusive interviewers. He simply carefully changes the topic or makes it clear that he does not want to go deeper. This already inspires a certain respect for a person who is able to maintain the boundaries of personal space in such an aggressive environment. But the real surprise was how he manages his finances. Even among rich Hollywood stars, it is unusual to see a person who does not boast about luxury, but prefers simplicity in everything. He has repeatedly donated huge sums, sometimes millions of dollars, to charities and medical institutions that treat serious diseases. And he did it secretly, through third parties or anonymous transfers, so that the public accidentally finds out about such facts only after a long time. One of the producers told a story about how on the set it suddenly turned out that some employees had big problems in the family. Without health insurance or funds, they could not afford expensive treatment for their relatives. A few days later, someone suddenly discovered that all the necessary expenses had already been paid, and the documents were completed without unnecessary questions. It later turned out that Reeves was behind all this. Having learned about the problems of people, he simply quietly contributed the entire amount, not wanting his name to be mentioned anywhere. How does the world find out about all this? Most often by accident. The beneficiaries themselves or their loved ones, having experienced great gratitude, begin to share information on social networks. Thus, dozens of stories have surfaced online about how Keanu helped children suffering from serious illnesses, financed programs in children's hospitals, paid for expensive operations for families completely unknown to him. It is amazing that even the most stubborn ill-wishers, who previously looked at him through the prism of ridicule and considered him a one-role actor, are forced to admit such generosity and altruism look absolutely genuine. Time has proven that this is not a one-time gesture, but an established way of life. He has been doing this for many years. Another aspect that haunts haters is his lifestyle. It would seem that with such an income, one could live in a luxurious mansion, surround oneself with an army of assistants, and travel exclusively in luxury cars. But Keanu continues to love motorcycles and rather modest models, not always brand new, and often rides public transport when he is in big cities. The story that made the most noise was when he was accidentally filmed on the subway. The actor was calmly sitting with a small bag in his hands, and at the next station, a woman entered the car. Seeing that she was standing, he immediately stood up and gave her a seat. It would seem like a simple act, but in the context of Hollywood, where celebrities are usually expected to be arrogant, it looked like a sensation. The video quickly went viral, and the public reaction was enthusiastic. Most exclaimed, "He behaves like an ordinary person." But it is in this ordinary that the phenomenon lies. Arrogance is much more common among people who have achieved much lesser heights, and Keanu Reeves, despite his worldwide fame and multi-million-dollar fees, seems to see no barriers separating him from ordinary citizens. Even the most inveterate skeptics, who were ready to find a flaw in this video, tried to say that it was all staged but quickly deflated. It was a random shoot without any signs of professional staging. Episodes with Keanu in the subway or in local cafes, where he pays the bill and tips himself, often pop up on the internet, and every time he looks completely natural in the frame without the slightest claim to stardom. People talk about him with admiration, but it does not bother him at all. He does not even try to use it for advertising purposes. Such sincerity inspires respect even among those who may not like his acting and prefer other stars. After all, you may not like the films in which he acts, but at least admire a person who knows how to remain modest, despite his loud status. A separate phenomenon is his behavior on the set. Stories regularly come from various sources about how he spends a long time thanking the crew members, including drivers, technical staff, costume designers, and makeup artists. He communicates with them as equals, never demands special treatment, and if he notices that someone needs support, he solves the problem without hesitation. Rumors that he gave expensive gifts to stuntmen and members of the film crew have been circulating for many years. And we are not talking about banal souvenirs for the sake of appearances, but about truly large and meaningful gestures. They say that after The Matrix, he bought all the stuntmen luxury motorcycles because he knew that the guys were fond of this type of transport, and their work on the set was colossal and risky. There is no need to personally check whether this is true. The participants of that filming later enthusiastically confirmed that such a situation really took place. It's hard not to have respect for a man who makes gratitude to the people who helped him achieve success a priority. It is noteworthy that even his haters admit, okay, he may not be the greatest actor of all time, but as a person he is amazing. It is no secret that Keanu has a long list of critics regarding his acting abilities. Some believe that he is monotonous in the display of emotions. Others reproach him for being constrained. But as practice shows, over time these ridicules subside because even the most stubborn critics understand. Behind the scenes there is a man with a big soul, and it is simply impossible to scold him endlessly. They can continue to discuss how suitable he is for this or that role, but they can no longer deny that in life he is an example of kindness and compassion. There are also stories about how Keanu calmly listens to negativity or ridicule directed at him. There were moments when journalists provocatively asked, "Does it offend you that someone considers you the worst actor in Hollywood?" To which he calmly answered something like, "Everyone has the right to their own opinion, and if someone doesn't like my acting, that's fine." This composure and respect for other people's opinions makes opponents shut up, because he does not respond to aggression or sarcasm with similar emotions, does not throw tantrums, and does not complain about the hard life of a celebrity. On the contrary, he shows tremendous patience and is even grateful for feedback. Any hater will sooner or later give in to such a reaction. When a person does not give a reason for conflict, the conflict becomes meaningless. Another reason for his respect, even among skeptical people, is the absence of high-profile scandals. It is almost impossible to find materials in which the actor would be involved in any disgusting story related to money, addictions, or family strife. Of course, life is never perfectly clean. Everyone has dark episodes or difficult moments, but in Reeves' case, it is difficult to remember him being caught lying, being rude, or ridiculing colleagues. He did not look for where to hype in order to maintain interest in his person, and did not try to play the victim, begging for sympathy. Apparently, he simply chose the path that he considered right and stuck to it, not paying attention to the fact that at some point it could go against social trends. This inspires respect even among those who do not like his work. Interestingly, when film studios began literally showering him with offers for huge fees after The Matrix, he repeatedly cut his salary, just so that other famous actors could participate in the project, or there was an opportunity to invest more money in special effects. In Hollywood, such a move is rare. Usually stars fight for every cent, but Keanu understood that the success of a film depends on many factors, and by sacrificing part of his income, he thereby gave filmmakers more creative freedom. As a result, some impressive action scenes and the participation of key actors became possible precisely because he gave in. Such generosity is rare, causing at least bewilderment among competitors and ill-wishers, and more often respectful silence, because one cannot deny the obvious facts. These are not empty words. The signed contracts with lower than usual fees confirmed that he agreed to work on more modest terms for the sake of the success of the project. There were even cases when Keanu defended the participants of the filming process who were in conflict with the management, or helped someone who was in danger of being fired. One of the lighting technicians once shared that he had serious health problems, and despite the fear of losing his job, he came to the set. Seeing the state he was in, Reeves not only sent him on sick leave, but also made an agreement with the producers so that the lighting technician would not be fired, but his treatment would be paid for. When this story came to light, some people tried to claim that the actor simply wanted to show off his kindness. But it turned out that the entire situation took place in an atmosphere of absolute secrecy, and if the lighting technician himself had not spoken about it publicly, the world would never have known about Keanu's actions. Why do PR if no one even knew about the fact? Obviously, there was another motivation, real compassion for a person in trouble. Even the most ardent haters sooner or later ask themselves, why does Keanu need all this? Is he really just a good person who is not trying to use his fame for personal gain? Evil tongues tried to put forward theories that he was hiding some dark sides and buying off his conscience with such good deeds. But time passed, and no loud revelations appeared. Every rumor that tried to cast a shadow on his reputation fell apart upon closer examination. In an era when the media greedily catches any dirt, especially on famous people, an absolute clean dossier seems almost fantastic. And this is perhaps the main reason why even ill-wishers are disarmed. There is not a single weighty argument to prove the self-interest of his behavior. Some critics studying the phenomenon of Keanu pointed out, perhaps it all comes down to his special philosophy of life. He often mentions that in his childhood and youth he experienced loneliness, moved from place to place a lot and did not feel a solid support, so he learned to see ordinary people as his family, even if symbolic. Hence the habit of treating everyone equally, trying to understand what they need and help, if it is in your power. Thus, a unique system of values was formed, where sympathy and kindness prevail over selfish desires. And when such a system of values was fully revealed in Hollywood, it began to seem extraordinary. Perhaps that is why he is so respected. He does not have an ego that is spreading, which is eager to prove its exclusivity to everyone. He simply does what he thinks is right, and let the whole world judge whether he is right or not. Yes, many haters still don't like some of his films. They criticize that he was allegedly too wooden in The Matrix and looked unconvincing in Coppola's Dracula. But even these people admit, we have nothing against him personally. It is clear that he is a kind and decent person. Respect is not always sympathy for creativity, but rather recognition of a person's moral strength. Keanu has managed to earn such a reputation that one can only criticize his professional acting, but not his personal qualities. And when opponents begin to speak too harshly, they are immediately besieged by others, reminding them of the good deeds that the actor has done. As a result, even the most vicious critics are forced to admit, we hate his characters, but not him as a person. Every now and then, photos or videos appear on the internet in which Keanu communicates with the homeless, buys them food or a blanket, sits next to them and simply talks to them as if they were equals, without a shadow of contempt. Some may decide that all this is a staged scene. After all, many celebrities like to demonstratively distribute food to the needy in front of the cameras. But the problem is that most of these testimonies are not staged videos. These are random photos taken by people who happen to be nearby. The footage shows that there are no professional cameramen nearby, no loud statements or slogans, and the actor himself sometimes does not even know that he is being filmed. It is hard not to believe such sincerity. It is also worth remembering that Keanu has had many sad events in his life that could embitter anyone, from the loss of close friends to tragedies in his personal life. But each time he found the strength to move on, without losing his benevolent attitude towards people. Perhaps it is this resistance to the blows of fate, combined with empathy, that gives rise to that very respect without borders. Even if a person is not connected with cinema in any way, even if he does not like action films or science fiction, having heard about such examples, he can say, "This is worthy of respect." That's why even the haters who seem to want to hurt his reputation inevitably stumble upon a rock of good deeds and human attitude towards others. They can continue to find fault with his films, calling them overrated, but they are forced to admit that as a person, Keanu looks strikingly noble. It turns out to be a paradox. A man who has repeatedly said that he does not need loud fanfare has become a symbol of humanity in an industry often criticized for ostentatious luxury and egotism. And this is perhaps what makes the strongest impression. He does good without trying to monetize it in public opinion, and therefore even his enemies capitulate to the facts. When you look at Keanu Reeves' path, you realize that respect for him is not so much due to his iconic roles, but to his actions off the set. All these stories fit together into a single mosaic: donations, compassion for colleagues, simplicity in communication, lack of arrogance, and the ability to understand other people's pain. Of course, he is not a saint and hardly claims this status himself, but the fact remains. For years, he has maintained an amazing reputation as a good guy, which does not fit with any loud scandals, and perhaps only the notorious criticism of his acting talent. Ultimately, even the most stubborn hater must pay tribute to a person who works in an ultra-competitive field, but does not fall into the abyss of cynicism and star fever. All these examples say one thing: respect for Keanu Reeves has long outgrown the boundaries of ordinary fan adoration. It has become a kind of public consensus, reflecting that kindness and modesty can be stronger than any hype or arrogance. Here, the genre of his films is no longer important. It does not matter whether you like action movies or not. Step by step, he showed that even in the tough world of show business, you can remain a human being. And that is why he has gathered an army of supporters, among whom there are people who criticize his acting skills, but respect him as a person. To sum up all of the above, it is worth admitting, the secret to respect for Keanu Reeves lies in an unprecedented combination of modesty, empathy, and willingness to help others. He does not try to prove that he is better than everyone else. He simply does what he thinks is right, and he does it sincerely, without pathos. Even the harshest critics find themselves at a dead end when they cannot find anything that would call into question his human qualities. Even if someone does not agree that he is a great actor, it is already impossible to deny that he is a great person. Therefore, if this story about why even those who criticize him respect him seemed interesting to you and made you take a new look at the personality of Keanu Reeves, do not forget to like it. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so as not to miss other inspiring stories about people who change the idea of the star world. And of course, share in the comments which of Keanu Reeves' actions impressed you the most and why. Your opinion may be the very stroke that will complete the picture and help others look at the actor and his life even more deeply. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.